The opinions expressed on this program represent the viewpoints of individual authors or contributors and do not necessarily reflect those of Troy University. This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
Well, I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of the leading candidates for the United States Senate. As many of you know, we have an open United States Senate race this year with Coach Toville leaving the Senate to run for governor. And we have some very qualified and charismatic candidates, and this is one of the most. Jared Hudson is a very well-liked young man in Jefferson County, and he is running around the state campaigning hard for United States Senate. Jared, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, sir. I appreciate you having us on.
I tell civic groups when I talk to them, I says, there's a candidate running for the United States Senate. It looks like he ought to go to Hollywood and be a movie star. You could do a show, and your wife's just as pretty as you are.
Well, the problem with Hollywood is it's in California. That's right. It's not in Alabama, you know.
Jared, now tell us about your wife and family and everything.
Yeah, so me and my wife, we got married years ago when I was in the SEAL teams. We've been married for 17 years now. We're coming up on 17 years.
Did you grow up in Jefferson County?
She grew up in Jefferson County, yes,
you
sir.
You were born and raised in Etowah, wasn't you?
So I was raised in Etowah, but in the 8th grade we moved to Jefferson County.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm in Jefferson County. Her family's in Jefferson County. My dad's a pastor, and her grandparents went to my dad's church, and that's how I met my wife, and we got connected. She's a few years younger than me. We started dating, we got married. She was with me my whole time in the SEAL teams, and then when I got out and became a law enforcement officer here in Alabama, we started having kids, and we're raising our family right here in Alabama. We have 3 beautiful little dark-headed girls. So
all girls.
I got a blonde-headed wife and 3 dark-headed girls.
How old are the girls?
10, 7, and 4. Yeah.
Now, Jared, tell our viewers what you do. You do a very yeoman's work there in Jefferson County as first of all, you would have been a Navy SEAL for how many years?
So I was a Navy SEAL sniper when I was in 8 years. That's a normal contract for an enlisted SEAL. So I did 8 years, 6 years active, 2 years reserve, a lot of deployments. And when I got out, was able to get out and become a law enforcement officer here in the state of Alabama, and did that and started having my family when we moved back here to Alabama.
Tell us what you do now as far as trafficking and that sort of thing. You have a foundation.
We do, okay. Yeah. So we have a nonprofit Covenant Rescue Group. When I became a law enforcement officer here, I finished my MBA and I left full-time law enforcement to run my business. The Lord blessed our business enough that we were able to start the nonprofit, which funds training at no cost to the local law enforcement agency, teaching them how to go after individuals who are buying and selling kids. It's called Covenant Rescue Group. And we go around all over the nation and do this. Obviously, we're heavily in Alabama, but our goal is to teach local agencies how to proactively go after individuals that are trafficking kids. So I'm still sworn law enforcement, both as a state agent here in Alabama, as a sheriff's deputy, and then also as a federal task force officer with Homeland Security. And most of our guys on our team that work for me are sworn, but we go all over and we teach how to do this. So when we're done teaching the agency, we set up a live operation with that law enforcement agency and oversee that operation for them to show them what we taught them actually works.
Jared, you've had a successful life, and doing what you're doing now is a very altruistic thing. You're not still very old. You're not about 40, are you?
I'm 40, yes, sir.
Exactly.
You hit the nail on the head. I'm 40, yeah.
Well, that's really the right age to have a United States Senator because, as you know, that power up there is based on seniority.
That's right.
Even as powerful as Senator Shelby was, he was not as powerful his first 10 years as he was his last 26. So the seniority system is such up there that if we had 2 40-year-olds up there, you and Katie Britt, that would be good. There's nobody as young as you in the race, is there? I mean,
no, sir.
Are the other 4 candidates?
No, sir. I think I'm probably the youngest by
Moore's
about 20
about 60,
years.
and Marshall's in his 60s.
I think I'm the youngest by at least 20 years.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And Morgan Murphy's older. Yeah.
I think he's in his late 50s or mid-50s, yeah.
But you're running at the right time. And if you want to get up there and build some seniority and have some power for Alabama, you're doing it. But you're doing it for the right reasons, too. You want to do the right thing in Washington, and you'd be a very conservative member of the United States Senate.
Well, yes, sir, absolutely. And so for me, coming from the SEAL teams into law enforcement and then running a business, one thing that I've seen, and then just being a regular Alabama family man for that matter, raising my girls right here, one thing I've seen is for far too long, we've had politicians that go and they forget the people they're elected to serve. They ride somebody else's coattails. They make deals with PACs. They do all of this stuff and they forget the fact that hey, I'm an Alabama representative. I'm supposed to represent the people of Alabama. Now, one thing I've seen, Senator Britt, who I didn't know before she ran, but now that she's our senator, I know her, she's doing an unbelievable job at bridging the gap a lot of times. She ended our government shutdown on the last one. At least that's what was told to me, is that she's the one who bridged that gap. I think that having senators like that who are fighting to put Alabama first and make Alabama a priority is unbelievably important. And we haven't had that, at least in a long time. And she needs a good partner to work alongside her to make sure we bring every bit of public and private investment we can here to Alabama. The other side of that is people will say, oh, well, then how do we know for sure you're going to do it? Well, normally I start off by telling everybody that I'm a Christian. Everybody is a Christian in Alabama during political season. But I'm bound by the blood of my Savior, number one. He doesn't allow me to be dishonest about it. But number two, I'm bound by the blood of men far greater than me who gave their lives overseas for this nation. My friends who died in Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever we're deployed to, who died for this nation, I'm bound by their blood to go and serve the people that I'm elected to represent, to serve the nation that we're representing, that they were willing to die for. That's the thing that binds me the most. And now, as a representative for the people of the state of Alabama, I have to go and I have to fight for them every day, even if it means giving my life for them. And see, that's the difference. You have a lot of politicians that wouldn't give up their weekend golf game, much less their life. I'm still willing to die for this country. And when I look to represent the people of Alabama, they are the ones in charge, and I'm supposed to do what's just and what's right to make sure that the people in my state have their right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, no matter what their zip code is.
You know, Jared, you fit the bill for there's several members of the Senate are young like you are. In Hawley, there's one that's from Iowa, something that's a former Navy SEAL.
Yeah, that's Tim Sheehy. He's from Montana.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How old is he now?
He's about my age. He's 40. We're in the teams around the same time.
You know, you would really catch on in Washington as far as, like, Katie Britt got there so young at a young age, but to have a Navy SEAL, a handsome Navy SEAL, you'd catch attention that would dwarf not just your youth, but you'd dwarf. You got to be people know you.
That's right.
And
you got to be noticeable. That's right.
And you can be effective immediately.
Well, and I think that's important, to be effective as immediately as possible, number one, but continue to be effective so it's not symbolism without substance. You got a bunch of people that howl at the moon.
Yeah.
Right? We don't need to get up there and howl at the moon. No one cares what you talk about. I've got to have words to back it. It's in the Bible. What do they say? What's he say in James? He says, you say you have that you have faith. Well, I'll show you my faith through my works. I've got to be able to back what I'm saying. And how do you do that? You make sure that you're seen, you make sure that you stand for the right things, and you make sure that you fight to bring stuff back here. I'll give you an example. Right now, we've got our tax dollars going to Minneapolis to fund, going to Minnesota to fund these leering centers, these Somali leering centers that's going on up there, and it's going over to Al-Shabaab in Africa. And we have unbelievable waste, fraud, and abuse. Our tax dollars go into wasteful spending in states that they shouldn't go to. We need to have two senators, me and Senator Britt, standing shoulder to shoulder to fight to bring it back here so we can widen I-65, so that we can fix the I-10 belt down in South Alabama, so we can continue to develop the fastest growing port in the nation is the port in Mobile. So that we can continue to invest in Huntsville, where we've got Rocket City and all of the economic revitalization in between. Because when we do that and we elevate Alabama with that public investment, it's going to bring more private investment in. Right now, we're already number one for car exports. We're number 5 in shipbuilding exports out of the port down there in Mobile with Austell. We can do so much in Alabama. The United States of America is the arsenal of democracy and freedom around the world. I believe that Alabama is the arsenal for the United States of America. And if you have two senators that are fighting not with each other, but fighting together against the system to bring everything we can to Alabama, it's going to elevate our way of life. It's going to increase affordability for regular families like mine. It's going to increase security in cities like Montgomery, Birmingham, Huntsville. And it's going to maintain our Christian conservative values. And that's what I want for my girls. That's what I know everybody else wants for their kids and one day our grandkids. We've got to make sure that we provide for them so there's a future and it's not just a bunch of talk.
I like that, Jared. Then you got a lot of good energy.
An energetic guy. You can't be a Navy SEAL and not be energetic.
And how'd you get the Navy SEALs? How did you choose to do that? I mean, Did you know growing up you wanted to do that?
No, sir. Actually, growing up, I wanted to be a Marine sniper. That's what I always wanted to go.
Close to it.
Yeah,
though.
Close to it. Went and became a SEAL sniper. But
so growing up, you always knew you were going to be sort of in military.
I always wanted to join the military. Yes, sir. The Lord opened the doors, kind of laid it on my heart, and I talked my dad. And at the time, George Bush had put in place to have a contract.
Your daddy was a minister, wasn't he?
My dad's a pastor. Yes, sir. Yeah. And
still pastoring.
He's still pastoring. And so, long story short, and the hardest contract to get was a contract to go to SEAL training, to Buds. And so
it was? That
was the hardest one to get, and then you had all the other special operations contracts. So, well, if I pass this one, this is the route the Lord wants me to go. I passed it. I got the contract. I went to Buds, went to the SEAL teams, went to sniper school, did a lot of combat deployments, and got to meet a lot of great guys, served my country in a great way, and lost a lot of friends in the process. And that was my run in the SEAL teams. When I got out and came back here, there was a transition into law enforcement for a little while, but when I finished my master's in business is when I really started going into the business and the nonprofit side. Let
me ask you this. I bet it was a tough decision for you and your wife to get involved in politics, wasn't it?
It was.
I bet y'all pray a long time about it. And y'all,
we did.
How did you? What did you first time you posed it to her? Because y'all seem so devout in what you're doing with your Christian life and doing everything to help trafficking problems in the state and that sort of thing. You have a stellar reputation for being an outstanding person with a lot of integrity and a lot of meaning in life. But tell me about the decision to run for the Senate.
Yeah, so the decision came not quite a year ago. It was probably around April of last year. Some people that are just donors to my organization, they're supporters, and they also support Coach Tuberville. And they said, hey, Coach is looking to run for governor. Would you consider running for his open Senate spot?
So they all came to you about it?
They just came and asked. And it wasn't anything special, It wasn't like somebody's recruiting me or anything. These are just regular folks that are like, hey, we think you would be great for this. And I said, no, I don't think so, and left it at that. And then, again, it was mentioned, and so I went to my wife and I said, hey, maybe we should pray about this. And she normally says no to everything. She says no to everything, and she said, hey, I think this might be the route God has for us. I said, why do you think that? And she goes, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I think. And the Lord opened the doors. I can't explain it any other way, because a guy who's an outsider like me, just a regular guy from Alabama, should not have had the success that we're having. And that's the only way that I can explain it, with the doors that have opened, the success that we're seeing, the grassroots swell that we're seeing, the fundraising that we're seeing, the support that we're getting, that somebody who's not in politics doesn't normally get, has been unbelievably amazing.
Jared, when we had lunch in Birmingham and I first met you, how long ago was that?
Oh, man.
It was about 6 months ago, wasn't
probably
it?
Probably 6, maybe even longer than that. Probably June time frame.
It was back then. So you started early.
Yes, sir. I was the first one to announce.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But you know what? I'm just sitting here thinking. You have moved. You have become a great. You're not a great candidate, but you're a great interview. I mean, the energy level is there.
Well, thanks. Hey, you're an energetic guy too, man.
Well, I'm old, but I'm just saying that I think you've moved around the state a lot since we first met.
Yes, sir.
I bet you are enjoying it too, aren't you?
Well, I miss my girls, and it is tiresome sometimes, when you're away from Mama and the girls. But it's not hard, and it's not been bad. It's just sometimes a little bit hasslesome. But yeah, I enjoy meeting the people across the great state of Alabama, and it doesn't matter what end of the state it's on. There are a lot of great people in our state. There's a lot of great places that I've never been that I've been to now, and I think it's awesome meeting the voters and meeting people who are looking for a real representative, somebody who's actually going to fight on their behalf. And I always tell them, I'm not a slick-tongued politician claiming I can fight for you. I'm a real fighter, a real warrior who shot people for this nation and stood beside men that were great, who gave their lives for this nation. I can fight for you in D.C. and take your issues to Washington and not bring the issues of Washington back to you. And going around the state and saying that, man, it resonates with people because they want somebody who's going to represent Alabama first, Alabama priorities.
You are right. You're right on about that. I tell you what, Jared, you're an amazing person. I'm glad to see someone with your integrity and character and your background take time out to run for the United States Senate. And like I said earlier, I'm from the old school of politics. I believe in the seniority system and that sort of thing, but you'd be immediately effective up there.
I hope so.
I think but you're also young enough that you could build some seniority.
Yes, sir.
That you and Katie could grow old together up there.
Let's not talk about being old yet.
Y'all could be a team, you know it.
hey, she's already getting a lot done on her own, you know, and so hopefully we're able to continue to do that together, because I think we can get a lot more done.
Well, she's got good committee assignments, and I had Coach Tubville when he first ran, like you are on the show. I've had him on several times. He first ran, he was on here, and Coach knew very little about government. And I asked him this question. I said, what committees do you want to be on? And Alf had gotten behind him, and I think he wanted to be on agriculture, but there's two committees waiting that he's leaving. Katie's got appropriations and rules and banking, but his two committees that would fit you perfectly are armed services and agriculture.
Yes, sir.
You know, those were the two. We need a seat on agriculture in Alabama.
Absolutely. Well, and I talked with, when I went and met, when we first decided to do this, I did talk with Senator Britt about this, and she asked me that. She said, hey, what interests you as a committee? And I told her, I said, well, Miss Katie, I think that you know what Alabama needs. I would lean on you first. What does Alabama need? Because I'm not doing this for Jared. I'm doing it for Alabama. So what best suits Alabama? And those are some of the ones that she mentioned. Obviously, armed services, because of my background.
Yeah,
Coaches
you'd be
leaving that.
perfect.
Agriculture, my family's farmers. You know, so my granddaddy and my uncle are specialty crop farmers. My uncle still runs a blueberry farm up in Etowah County. So I come from a family of farmers, and so that is something.
Veterans Affairs would be perfect for you. That'd be perfect for you.
That's right.
They'd love you being up there.
And the Veteran Affairs Committee is important. And that's another one that she mentioned that also resonates with me, is because in the state of Alabama, about 10% of our population are veterans. So we've got 450.
That big?
We've got about 450,000
I did not
veterans,
know that.
plus or minus 10%. And so when we have that many veterans, and they're all over the state, right? And we have one fully serviced VA hospital in Birmingham. I guess Tuscaloosa probably still counts as one, but we need to make sure that we bring investment back just for those veterans, to make sure that they're not having to drive 3 hours for the care that they've earned and that they deserve. If we're going to subsidize health care for anybody, we need to be subsidizing care for the veterans who gave their life, especially the early years of their life, protecting this country and standing in the gap for this country. Those are the ones we need to be taking care of, not illegal immigrants and not some of the other issues we see. We need to make sure that we bring back investment for our veterans, for a VA healthcare, fully serviced healthcare system somewhere in the state, so that they can have access to healthcare. The other side of it would be the infrastructure aspect of bringing investment in the state for infrastructure, but in particular broadband. Because one of the things I've seen with my age of veterans, the Global War on Terror GWOT veterans, is they don't necessarily need to go into a hospital to get treated for physical stuff. A lot of it's PTSD or TBI related, that they can do appointments through teleconference, through phone calls, and because you have veterans in rural communities that don't have access to broadband, it makes that outreach and that connectivity much more difficult. So I think that's another aspect of supporting veterans.
The committees waiting up there are the perfect ones for you and for the state. You got there's almost a perfect blend there. Well, Jerry, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us.
I appreciate you taking time to be with me, sir.
It goes by in a hurry. Folks, our guest tonight has been an outstanding young man who is running for the United States Senate for the open Senate seat in the Republican primary, Jared Hudson. And y'all keep him in mind on May 19th, because it's right around the corner. Jared Hudson is running for the Senate. He's running all over the state, and quite energetic, and the only young guy in the race. 40 years old is young when you're my age. Thank you, Mr. Jared, a lot for being with us. And we thank you, viewers, for watching Alabama Politics. Hope you tune again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This has been Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, a production of Troy University Television. Opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Troy University, its administration, faculty, staff, or students.